DeathValleyDriver.com, they had a thread that was about 2 pages long, and nobody was actually talking about any of the matches. This is bad.
These are bad indicators.
This is an indication that not only did no one buy the show, but no one cared enough to even know what was going to happen on the show. This is not doing 170,000 buys, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez.
That is my prediction. So, tri-branded is not the answer. Compelling storylines is the answer. And I guess people just didn't want to see a four-way for the belt. I guess people just didn't want to see Vince McMahon fighting for the ECW title. And I guess nobody else wanted to see whatever the hell else there was on this show. Big Dave and Undertaker, last man standing. And there was a thread on the board today. Somebody was very upset that we were talking about De La Hoya Mayweather. Quit wasting 5 minutes on this bullshit. This ain't wrestling, it's real. If you want to know why buy rates are at 130,000 buys, there are a number of factors, and one of them is that there are too many pay-per-views.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about WWE. I'm talking about if you're a fan of sports entertainment, and I know some of you are just fans of wrestling and don't follow MMA, but the numbers of pure pro wrestling fans are beginning to dwindle as UFC gains popularity. So you were not just talking about 14 pay-per-views a year from WWE. There are 14 WWE pay-per-views. There are 12 TNA pay-per-views. There are 14 to 16 UFC pay-per-views, and there's a gigantic boxing pay-per-view this weekend. So if you think that this has no impact on pro wrestling, think again.
You are a fool.
You can go back and read some of the columns that I wrote for Fighting Spirit like 8 months ago, where I predicted exactly what is happening now would happen. TNA was going to continue to suffer greatly in the buy rate department because they are, in fact, last on the totem pole. They are at the bottom of the totem pole.
They are beneath the totem pole.
Most people decide, am I going to buy a UFC pay-per-view or am I going to buy a WWE pay-per-view? And, you know, it's usually a decision between one or the other, maybe both. But then TNA is like third place.
TNA people are thinking like, Jesus Christ, I already bought 1 to 2 pay-per-views this month. I don't have many more money left.
Only the very diehard TNA fans are regularly buying those shows because there's just too much stuff to buy.
Yeah.
That's the way things are. So anyway, that's the problem with this Backlash show. It was just one show in the middle of 100 different shows. And it's funny because Austin's movie came out this weekend and bombed.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody's making some wacky excuses. People didn't go to the theaters this weekend. Spider-Man's coming out.
Did people actually say that?
Yeah.
Spider-Man's coming out next weekend.
They're waiting for Spider-Man next weekend. And, you know, maybe some people are. Maybe it was just a bad movie. But there were many, many factors that went into why Stone Cold's movie bombed this weekend. And one of them was that, hey, people just didn't want to see the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, this Backlash show was a great show.
For those of you who didn't see it, you had a lot of fun.
Which is sad because most people didn't.
None of you actually saw it.
If you want to, if you want to get the replay, go for it.
Oh, yeah.
This is a show where I would strongly recommend the replay. There were at least 2, probably in the 4-star range matches. The Undertaker Batista was very close, right around that level. And the 4-way for the WWE title was in excess of 4. And the rest of the stuff was largely good. There was not anything I could really call a bad match on the show. I guess we should run it down one by one. And even the women's match was a
hell of a match.
Pretty damn good little women's match, all things considered. Open up with the Hardys and then Trevor Murdoch and Lance Cade for the Raw tag titles. I've already given up trying to differentiate between the World and the WWE tag team titles.
They're the Raw tag champs.
They're the Raw tag champs.
And I guarantee you're in the vast majority there. No fans care which is the WWE title and which is the World title.
I see. So they had a match, and I've said this many times, Lance Cade, future single star. And Trevor Murdoch,
not future single star.
He just better hope that Lance Cade is not a single star for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Because as long as they're a tag team, he's okay. After that, Trevor Murdoch is just
We can say doomed.
He's the exception to the rule right now, but he's no Mick Foley.
Oh, yeah. No.
He's not the exception to the rule for the long haul. God bless the guy, but he needs to start getting into shape because once this tag team ends, if he's not in shape, I don't know.
I don't know if they need a fat redneck on the roster.
I don't know if they need a fat redneck.
You've said that Lance Cade is a future star. I won't say I've never seen it. I thought Cade was fine. He's a big guy and he's young. He can get a lot better. But I never looked at him and thought that guy's going to be great someday. I thought that about like Kenny Dykstra or Johnny Nitro. I thought those guys may be great someday. I always thought Lance Cade was just a guy. Tonight he looked really good, and I was watching it and thinking about it. And part of it is the match was really long, so he had a lot of time to do stuff. I was watching him and thinking, he reminds me right now of Triple H in like '95.
He is 6'6",
yeah,
282, great shape,
yes,
trained by Shawn Michaels, good worker.
Yeah, and the key. How old is he?
He's like 22 or something.
Yeah, and just watching him and thinking, he's exactly where Hunter was.
He's better than Hunter was.
I didn't mean quality wise. I meant on the card.
I see.
Working the pay-per-view opener and happy about it. And I, at the time, I really never would have thought Hunter would have been as big as he turned out to be. And forget about his personal life. He would have been a big star anyway. So yeah, Lance Cade, the future does look bright for this young man.
He will be a star someday. They had a good match, good tag team match, very old school match. They beat on Jeff Forever. Matt got the hot tag, ran wild. Everybody was doing their big spots. And finally, Murdoch went for his Canadian Destroyer again. I know you were freaking out about this.
It's a code red.
Listen, Dave...
I may be the only one who cares about this.
You are. But Dave asked what it was supposed to be, and he was told a Canadian Destroyer.
Okay, then either the person Dave asked did not know the difference, or Murdoch does not know the difference.
Okay, what do you think would be more likely? Trevor Murdoch not knowing the difference. Nobody watches TNA there. They probably attempted this. It doesn't matter.
It looked better than the one on Raw.
That's because he didn't hurt the guy.
That's right.
So anyway, he did his Canadian Destroyer attempt and did not kill the man this time. But this time, Matt just kicked out. No one cared. Nobody cared.
Yeah, no one buys the fat man doing the flipping move.
Jeff crushed Murdoch with a senton. Matt slid in and got the pin. A child held up a Hardy's Rules sign.
The Hardy's Rules. Thank you, Georgia. The Hardy's Rules.
And the crowd clapped to their song. They celebrated for about 15 minutes. And that's what happens when you have a 3-hour pay-per-view and 6 matches.
Yeah.
A long celebration.
There was a long celebration. And you can also see this expression on Matt Hardy's face. Like, the first time he'd actually won a big match in a long, long time. And he couldn't stop smiling like, wow, I forgot how fun it is to win. Yay!
Like when they won the titles in every match since then.
They won the titles in a wacky Battle Royal gauntlet thing on Raw. No one cared. And they've had some matches since then where they've lost. This is their first win on This is Matt Hardy's first win on pay-per-view in probably 6 months. And I guarantee you it's his biggest win on pay-per-view since the cage match with Edge.
That could be.
Yeah, so this is a big deal for him.
Anchor will be right on that. Prove you wrong.
I bet you're wrong. I bet he does not prove me wrong.
I have to thank Anchor, by the way, for helping Admin Nails do the pay-per-view report tonight. Fine job, young man.
All right, way to go, Anchor.
Although you capitalized too many words randomly.
I will not yell at you this time.
It's one thing when you do that sort of stuff on the forum, but when it's on the front page, come on now. Let's use proper capitalization. You're in university, aren't you?
I try not to pay attention to Anchor's life.
I was waiting for him to answer, but all right. Melina and Mickie James for the women's title. First, we had a meeting with Shane, Umaga, Vince, etc. Basically, Vince and Shane both said they wanted the other to become the new champion, but as they said it, they had that look on their face like they knew they were full of shit. They wanted the belt for themselves. So that was
And
that.
Vince had a do-rag.
Vince did have a do-rag. We'll talk about Vince in a minute. Melina and Mickie James, women's title, good match. The smartest thing Mickie James ever did was bust out those new pants. Those are wonderful pants.
You're a fan.
I'm a gigantic fan.
She looked good.
Skirt's got to go. It's just, those days are over. It's time for the long, tight spandex. It's this beautiful thing. Anyway, it was a good match.
Yeah.
I have very little memories of it other than just watching Mickie.
It was very good.
I was just watching her ass, let's be honest here.
All right, there you go. They had a very good, very basic match, and it made me happy because they did not do 800,000 near falls. They were the second match on the card. They would go for covers. Girls would kick out at 2, and they would keep wrestling. It was fine. And then the first time anyone hit anything remotely like a finisher, which was Melina hitting a reverse DDT, she made the cover, and the ref counted 3, and that was it. Just nice, basic second card of the match.
Your eloquence knows no
I was
bounds.
going so well.
Oh, boy. Yeah, they knocked each other into the splits. They punched each other.
That was where it got great. Yes, I remember that now.
And Melina hit her with an eye rake and then a reverse DDT for the pin. It was good. Then we had Marie interviewing Edge, speaking of hot young ladies, and she wanted to know his thoughts on the match. This was actually his first match since hurting himself, his first full match. So anyway, she had a question from somebody she wanted to ask him, perhaps from our board. She said, "Tell us how you won the first WWE title," which actually, no. He said everyone knew the answer, explained the whole situation with the, I guess it was a New Year's Revolution or whatever it was, and coming out after the main event and winning the belt. And this was Mr. Kennedy's cue to show up with his briefcase and tease that he might come in after the main event and challenge the winner, which he did not do.
It was a tease.
What a tease that was.
It was a swerve. This was awesome because it was Edge mocking Kennedy's head bobbing, and Kennedy replying by just bobbing his head even more.
Yeah.
And I demand these two men cut promos with each other every show.
I don't know if I can handle that. Chris Benoit, MVP for the U.S. title. They did another very good match. It's hard to find out how much MVP is improving because he's always wrestling Chris Benoit.
Yes.
But that said, he's looking great during this feud.
Oh, yeah.
I will give him that. Power Ranger chants and that sort of thing, and Benoit put on the crossface. MVP got the ropes. They fought all over the place. There was a half crab, which Michael Cole identified as almost like a half crab.
He's kind of learning.
Benoit got the ropes. They traded cradles, and then Benoit put him in the Bryan Danielson Unbreakable Small Package for the pin. So I guess he is the new Mr. Small Package. This was a very good match. They have my permission to wrestle forever, and things were great. So Benoit retained the U.S. title yet again, which actually is the fun story of, because usually it's like, you know, the champion wins a few times, and then the challenger beats him. Not this time. Benoit can't be beat.
No, the champion keeps kicking the challenger's ass and sending him home.
And that's great, because the longer he can't be beat, the better it's going to be when he actually is defeated.
When this show ended, or excuse me, when this match ended, I said, these men have my permission to wrestle on every pay-per-view of the year. And that'd be fine. And if Benoit beats him in every pay-per-view this year, and then whatever the hell's in December, Armageddon, and then MVP pins him in Armageddon, that one will be huge. And that would be great. That being said, as you noted, Craig made the comment during the show, boy, MVP's been great since WrestleMania. And we all just stopped and turned at him like, gee, why do you think that might be?
There is
a common thread since WrestleMania. It's Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
And like I say, we don't know how good MVP is, and frankly, I don't care.
At the end of this feud, he goddamn sure better be pretty damn good.
He should be awesome. For right now, if he's still no good, then just keep him with Benoit, and I am fine with that.
Yes.
Just let them have good matches on every show, and that's great.
Cena did a promo. Orton came up. Basically, Cena made fun of him for, I guess, perhaps being gay.
He implied homosexuality.
Light in the loafers. And Cena said he was not that kind of guy and walked off. And Orton threatened that later tonight, Cena would be flat on his back with Orton on top. And then he realized what he had said, which, of course, was Ron Simmons' cue to come up and say, damn. He was appalled at this high gaiety.
That was, in fact, high gaiety. Cena was cutting the promo. Orton came up and interrupted and started listing all the things they had in common, which was young world champions. And he said, incredibly handsome. And John Cena gave this look at the camera that I can't describe, but it was the best look he could possibly have given. And at that point...
There's not much to describe. He just looked at the camera at the right moment.
Maybe that was it. It wasn't what he did. It was when he did it. But it was flawless. And I was roaring with laughter, and it actually would have been better if they had just changed the subject then. But they had to kind of beat the joke into the ground over and over again, and it kind of ruined it for me. But John Cena looking at the camera was priceless.
I didn't think it was ruined at all. The best... Orton was awesome here. I don't care how many hotels he ruins. He was so awesome in this little segment here that he has redeemed himself in my eyes. I will actually allow him to do a boring chin lock for the next 4 weeks because of this little thing that he did.
I'll remind you of that.
He was great. You just gotta. I wish I could have watched it again, but Craig's a Nazi with that controller there, so I didn't get a chance to. But Orton did a fine job here. John Cena did a fine job, and
As
Ron
always.
Simmons did a very fine job as well.
No, Ron. Ron.
And everyone laughs and claps and cheers.
That's his job now.
Lashley versus Umaga, Vince and Shane for the ECW title. It's a new Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was wearing jeans, a gigantic sweatshirt, completely obscuring his body, and his do-rag, which was tied so tight it was not coming off, no matter what happened. At the end of the match, as he's walking up the ramp, he had the belt around his waist, and I was like, my God, Vince McMahon has a gut.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
What the hell happened to Vince? Must have missed a couple of workouts here and there. And the whole hair thing, you can tell that the idea of being bald is abhorrent to Vince McMahon.
Yes.
I mean, he flashed his bald head the whole day after WrestleMania. Actually, it was only on the Today Show or whatever that was. And from that point on, he has worn a hat. It has come off one time, and that's it.
It's been 3 weeks. I'm sure he's got a decent head of stubble by now.
It's been about 4 weeks. It's been exactly a month, I think, pretty much. 4 weeks,
That's
yeah.
right, yeah. Regardless, I'm sure he's got hair now, but not enough hair.
No.
He needs more.
He is covering that goddamn head up, and no one's going to see him without hair. This ain't even it's not even like some sort of wacky gimmick where the heels keep tearing it off.
No.
one touches his hair. It is not seen by anybody.
And if you do, fired.
You may be in trouble. So, Lashley threw around Shane McMahon early like a rag doll, and that is not a cliche. He threw him around like he was a doll.
Mm-hmm.
Umaga got thrown around as well. They finally got the heat on him forever. And Vince stayed out of the ring nearly the entire time until Lashley made a big comeback at the end, but Shane clonked him with the ECW title, and Vince demanded the tag. Made the cover, and Lashley kicked out, which Vince blamed on Shane.
That was a great moment.
So he tagged in Umaga. Umaga did a big splash, so Vince tagged in again and got the cover, and Lashley kicked out. And Vince was irate. Tagged Umaga again. Umaga hit a second splash. Vince tagged in. This time he got the pin. Vince McMahon is your new ECW champion. Many people expected that. I did not. Just the idea of Vince with the ECW title. It's great heat, I guess. But what do you do now? You know what I mean?
At some point, he has to lose this thing.
I mean, he obviously can't do much,
right?
Because he didn't do anything in this match. He couldn't take a power slam. I mean, the story that he told, I can't remember where it was. I think it was when Trump came out. And Vince was like, I cracked my pelvis in a match last year. I can never wrestle again. I don't know if he can never wrestle again, but he got hurt bad in that match for real.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he can do anything. And, you know, what the hell do you do now with Vince McMahon?
I don't think it matters.
It does sort of matter because, you know, he now, okay, so he won the title in this wacky, weird 3-on-1 match without actually having done anything.
Right.
And now he's going to lose the title without actually being pinned because you know they're going to do some sort of wacky match where if his man gets pinned, he loses the title.
Or something, or he'll just surrender it again.
Or surrender it again or whatever. I don't know about that idea. I just don't think it's a good idea.
I see your point. I just think no one cares about the ECW belt anyway.
Well, the idea, obviously, is you try to make people.
That's
That's like going, well, nobody's going to house shows anymore, so let's just stop running them.
That makes sense.
It makes no sense. You build up your business when things are bad.
But, no, it's not doing the belt any favors to be on Vince McMahon, that's for sure. It's a wacky storyline. There'll be funky skits. If Vince can't do anything, I don't know what they're going to do. If he has a change of heart and realizes, Jesus Christ, I need to drop this in an actual match, I suspect he will take one cane shot to the head and be pinned by somebody.
Sandman?
Sure, why not? Doesn't matter.
Because Sandman is not getting the ECW title.
Sandman also can't do anything.
I won't bury this too bad. I'll see where they go with it, but I'm not a big fan of Vince McMahon here's the thing. I don't give a fuck what belt it is. I don't care if it's the ECW title. I know some people are appalled because, like, Vince McMahon's the champion of the old ECW. No, he's not. He's the champion of one of the brands, okay?
Yes, he's
I would have been angry
Heat.
if he won the Raw title, if he won the SmackDown title, or the ECW title. No matter what title it is, it's pretty appalling.
If you're going to have a title, it should be treated better than this.
Yes.
That's your point.
At least Santino Marella, I mean, that was a weird one, too, because a Mark has the belt, basically. But at least they explain this Mark has been a wrestling fan forever, and he's been training, and he's actually going to defend the title in the ring, and maybe they can make something out of it. With Vince McMahon, it's just a gimmick.
It's just an old man.
You've made the belt into just a toy.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get some funny promos and everything like that, but
Some fun skits.
I guess the reality is ECW does not matter, so who really cares?
It's Tuesday Night Heat.
But my feeling is that if I were a promoter, I would want to try to make it mean something. Maybe it's just me.
Your intents are noble.
Yes. The business perhaps has passed me by. So, then we had Undertaker and Batista for the WWE title, last man standing match. I guess I'd have to watch this in WrestleMania again. I think WrestleMania was a little bit better, partly because this had a cheap finish. They tried to save the finish. Basically, they brawled all over the place. They were going at a pretty fast clip. I think they figured that if they got tired, they'd just do a bunch of standing 10 counts in a row, which they did at one point, 3 in fact. And people were into it. People were into this whole show. So the crowd here in Atlanta, giant thumbs up.
Indeed.
So Taker had a bad arm supposedly, and Dave had a bad leg. They worked their asses off, did some shit with the table, the steps outside, chairs. It was just basically a hardcore match with standing 10 counts. And finally they brawled up near the stage, and the match had been great up to that point. There was one point where Dave just went crazy and hit like 4 spine busters in a row, and Taker kept getting up, and then hit a big power bomb off the top, and Taker got up again, and Dave got a chair, Undertaker backdropped him onto it and hit the tombstone, but Dave got to his feet, and finally they start going up the ramp and teasing going off, and it ends up with Dave spearing Undertaker off the ramp through like a staging area. And then they had 3 giant lighting stands that just happened to be there with no lights on them.
Yes.
Next to the stage. And when they went through the staging part, the 3 lighting stands fell and crashed into the big stage and the big ramp or whatever. It looked pretty fantastic. And they tried very hard to make it look so fantastic that people didn't realize that there was no finish. Unfortunately, the people realized it very rapidly.
Immediately.
And were booing like crazy.
Yeah.
They didn't like they ruled it a no contest, or a draw,
Well,
basically.
the ref did at least count to 10.
He did.
He gave him a very rapid 10 count as he was calling for the EMT, so you can't say there was no finish, there was just a shitty finish.
It was a tie, a draw.
It was a no-man standing match.
When both men die, the champion retains,
Yes.
basically, is how the rules are in pro wrestling. And Undertaker was so badly destroyed that he just got up and walked away.
Yes,
I don't know why.
When I left the room briefly here, and when I left, there was, they were showing a million replays, and Dave Spears Taker off the stage, and they go through the thing, and they had some sparks flew, and the set fell over, and people at first were all going crazy, so showing these replays, and it was great, and I left, and I came back like 2 minutes later, and Undertaker just carrying his belt, walking around, like he's been out for a jog. That annoyed me.
Yeah.
Up to that point, everything was great. This was ever so slightly worse than the WrestleMania match, but I had serious doubts they could ever have a good match again, and goddamn it, they did it. They pulled out the magic.
I don't know if I doubted they could do it again. I thought if they had a chance, it would be this match, because the last man standing matches are usually good. I presume at this point, what's next is Hell in a Cell. That will probably be the May pay-per-view, I would guess. And that one is going to be a task, but I'll bet they have a pretty goddamn good match, Hell in a Cell, as well.
At this point, I think I've seen Dave Batista have 2 very good matches, and they are both with Undertaker in the past 2 months, so I'm not going to doubt them.
This is probably 3 3/4, but very good match. Everybody should check it out if you get a chance. And that led us to the main event of the evening. John Cena versus Shawn Michaels, Orton, and Edge for the WWE title. This was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very difficult time recapping this because this was a match that was like 15 or 20 minutes long and it was so perfect, it looked like every single movement had been scripted.
Yes.
Everybody, there was not one thing in the match that did not happen for a reason. And with 4 guys, it's one thing when you've got 2 great workers and everything in the match happens for a reason. That's easy because there's 2 of you. And you just make sure everything happens for a reason. 4 guys, all of a sudden, you've got to make sure that everything that everybody does happens for a reason, which means you've got to script that thing out almost start to finish. And somehow, this 20-minute match with 4 guys, intricately scripted, went off without a hitch.
It was a miracle's too strong, but it was remarkable.
It was a miracle.
Okay.
I'll go as far as say it was a miracle. If Cena had not been involved, I wouldn't have been called it such a miracle, because Shawn's great, Orton's great, Edge is great. Cena, hey, he had another great day. He was in the right spot for everything.
Yeah.
The finish, I will try to recap, and this was just one of many things much like it during the match. Everyone hit a finish. Edge speared Orton, and then Cena grabbed Edge and gave him the FU. And as he stood up, Shawn super kicked him, and he fell down and landed on top of Orton, and the ref counted the pin before Shawn could break it up.
Yep.
So
you got that all right.
The only guy that really got fucked in the whole situation, what a coincidence, Orton. It was Edge's spear that put him out. Shawn's super kick knocked out Cena, who got the pin, but Cena fell on Orton and got the pin. Everybody benefited except Randy Orton.
Pretty much, yeah.
That'll teach you.
The finish of the match really was Edge spearing Orton. That put him down, and he could not get back up.
Sure.
So of course, Edge benefits that way. Cena benefits from actually winning, and Shawn benefits from being. He was the only one when the match ended still on his feet.
Well, I think that the Edge thing, everyone's going to overlook. Technically, you could say that Edge ended the match. But really, the whole match was all about guys hitting big moves and other people breaking it up, and the same thing would have happened here. But I think that the way that they booked it afterwards was we're supposed to think Shawn won, he got fucked again.
Yeah, there was when he went to the corner afterwards, he kind of squatted in the corner, buried his face in his hands, and covered up his mouth and nose, and looked around with his eyes, and I thought that right there is the Shawn Michaels of 1995.
He's gonna lose his mind.
He's going nuts.
He beat John Cena clean in the middle last week with no interference, but it was a non-title match. And then tonight, he
had him beat.
He had him beat. He was the winner, but he got fucked. So he is gradually going insane. They may give Shawn Michaels a title. I am now starting to think that this is in the works because it just keeps going. They're playing up the Shawn Michaels thing to such a degree that it seems like that's where they're going. One last run for this guy. And he's working so goddamn hard that there's got to be something behind it. You know what I mean?
There's that point, too. It does seem like this feud is going on basically since the Rumble shortly thereafter, and it seems like at some point they need to have a giant blow-off match.
And they could always do the whole thing where, Shawn beats Cena, and then Shawn's friend Hunter comes back.
Shawn's friend Hunter comes back.
And they've got their big feud all over again.
Everything's right back where it's supposed to be.
This time Hunter trying to win the title back from Shawn. Who knows? I would not be stunned if Shawn won the belt at some point this year. It seems like they're building towards it, but who knows? So that was a match, probably 4 1/4, maybe 4 1/2. It was great.
And then, like you say, besides the finish, there were many, many other intricate, elaborate spots that needed all 4 men and the ref to be in the right place at the right time, and everyone always was.
No one fucked anything up.
No. It was amazing.
It was quite incredible.
It was a fine end to a great show.
Everybody needs to see that match. I recommend getting the show if you get a chance. It was some very good stuff.